Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Middletown School Committee meeting to order on Thursday, June 15th, 2023 at 4:30 PM. All members are present. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence afterwards. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence for Teresa Santos, who passed away recently. She was a longtime member of our town council, and our thoughts and prayers go out to her and her family. She was very dedicated to this community for many, many, many years. Thank you. First, this evening, we have our public forum. Individuals may address the school committee on only one relevant education-related topic, not included on the agenda, nor related to personnel or job performance, nor revealing personally identifiable information regarding students. Individuals may speak for no longer than 5 minutes and must submit a public participation form to the superintendent prior to the start of the meeting. Non-agenda items discussed under public forum will not be voted upon at this meeting. Do we have any forms?
I have no forms.
Okay. So next, I'm going to move on to proclamations and awards. First, I would like to take a moment to introduce our new Middletown High School principal, Mrs. Donna Sweet. And we want to welcome you to our Middletown Public School District and to our community. So if you'd like to stand up.
I'll just give a little background about Donna. I know there was a press release we announced earlier this week, but Donna had her start as an English teacher in Westerly. She then moved to North Kingston, where she served in many, many positions, guidance counselor. Then she became chair of the guidance department there. She was dean of students in North Kingston, then served as assistant principal for student services, and then assistant principal for teaching and learning. She moved back to Westerly when there was an assistant principal opening, and we are lucky that she interviewed here and was the unanimous choice of the interviewing committee. And we welcome Donna, and already we're getting along because look at 3 of the principals are dressing in navy blue like myself here. So she got the memo. Donna, would you like to say anything? She spent the day today at Middletown High School. Podium's fine.
Well, first of all, I hope meetings are always this well attended. I'm sure it's not about me, but thank you. And I know there's a lot to celebrate here. I had a wonderful day at the high school today. I felt a very nice, warm reception from everyone, which is exactly what I anticipated of what I know of Middletown as a community, as a teaching staff, and through the interview process. It was a really just a very organic and it was amazing. You could just tell it was a right fit. I have a great skill set. I've 26 years in education, and I was just ready to move on and start to author my next chapter. And I feel grateful to be able to do it here in Middletown. So I look forward to our work together. My first day in the office will be July 3rd, and there'll be some information coming out from my office so that I can meet some students, some parents, other stakeholders, holding some office hours, and just hit the ground running, ready to get going. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And her husband is with us tonight as well. Thank you.
Okay, next we move on to the most exciting parts of all of our meetings is the proclamations and awards. And it's always the most exciting part because we like to celebrate the success of our students and our staff. So we will start with the student of the week.
We have Principal Bulk.
So this is Anna Luisa. She's a second grader at Aquidneck School. She speaks Portuguese and English, and I have to say this is not on her little sheet, but Anna Luisa took part of the WIDA testing, and in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, 3 years she tested out. So we are so proud. Usually it takes 5 to 6 years. She's very proficient in her English, both writing and speaking. She's a great student academically. She's always working to strive to do her best. She's a kind friend. She's a joy to have in class, said her teacher, Mrs. Bolton. Her quote is never give up on your dreams, which I love. Her dream job is she'd like to be a baker because people who don't have a lot and live outside need food, and she would give it to them for free. So cool of her. She looks up to two people. She looks up to her mom because she's also her friend, and if she has a problem, she can help me with it. And she also is very religious and looks up to God because when she's having a big, big problem, she can get wisdom from him and the wisdom to make good choices. She her favorite show is it Cake, which is pretty funny. The best place is the beach. I would agree with you because you can go in the water and play in the sand. She likes Mo Williams books, Pigeon books, and Ellie and what's Ellie and Elephant and Piggy books. Her favorite subject is math, a girl after my own heart. And she would like to thank Mrs. Bolton, her student teacher that she had this year, and me for helping her learn. She's such a motivated and enthusiastic learner, and she demonstrates a strong desire to learn. And she's such a sweet and caring girl at Equipment School. So we're so proud of Anna Lisa.
Congratulations, good job. Congratulations. Want to shake everyone's hand? Oh, congratulations.
And I didn't see, is Maverick here?
Okay.
Our next student of the week, Principal Niemeyer, has three, actually.
Good afternoon, everybody. Is Sarah Cardozo here? Sarah, are you here? Okay. Oh, perfect. Oh, come on down. Awesome. All right. Sarah's a sixth grader with us at Gaudet Middle School. Welcome. She was nominated by Miss Gouch, who said, Sarah's a great example of a well-rounded student. She works hard every day and strives to be her best self. In addition, and probably more importantly, she's kind and considerate. She's respectful to all her peers and teachers, and she's never afraid to stand up for what she believes is important, which I think is probably the best trait there, right? A quote, she says, you can do it if you work hard and believe in yourself. I love the growth mindset attitude. She wants to be a psychologist to help people who need it. That's terrific. She likes seafood and crepes. Her role model is her mom, because mom is awesome. And she'd like to meet Elon Musk so she could get advice on how to be successful in business. Let's see, she'd like to thank Mrs. Gouch. So it sounds like they have a pretty great relationship in the sixth grade. So this is Sarah Cardozo.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations. Well done. Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thanks, Sarah. Is Emma here?
I don't think she can be here.
Okay. And Owen. No? Okay, that's all I have. Then.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, next are our Excellence in Art Awards, and here to announce those awards are our art teacher at Middletown High School, Jordan Silvera.
I do. There you go.
For the first Excellence in Art Award, we have Isabella Huntoon nominated by Jill Armstrong. The next Excellence in Art Award we have is Dylan Baker. Our next Excellence in Art Award is Angus Klobesic. Klebichek, thank you for correcting me.
I want to see your painting.
And our next Excellence in Art Award goes to Sierra Crook. And our next Excellence in Art goes to Lainey Sobin. That's it.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Congratulations to all our outstanding artists. I know our teachers at the high school and K through 12, the talent they draw out of our students in art is just amazing. There's an art exhibit the end of May, and the work that our students do, you want to buy the work and put it in your house. So congratulations. Next are all state band and chorus members. Do we have our music teacher here? No? All right, our chair will announce.
Okay. So in the senior division choral solo and ensemble all-state member is Katrina High.
Katrina? Here she is.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Our senior division band all-state member is Colin Clambert. Yeah. Okay. Our senior division choral all-state member is Elena Flower. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, that's a V. I apologize. It looks like it's up there. Oh, well, congratulations. Thank you. Junior Division Band All-State member Logan McKenna.
Congratulations. Great job.
Nice. Our Junior Division Band All-State member status, Gabriella Mestrinelli. Okay. And last, we have the Senior Division Band All-State member, Yutong Zhang. Here.
A lot of these are seniors, and they graduated Saturday, and I'm sure. So again, our fine arts program is just outstanding. To hear the band and chorus at so many of the concerts and at graduation, it's very exciting. Very good group of students. So next is our Division III lacrosse champions. Division two. Oh, that makes a difference. And I have to tell you, I was at that game and it was very exciting. It was cold, but it was very, very exciting. I don't know what coach said to the team during halftime. They were playing well. They were doing an outstanding job, and it was a tough, hard-fought game, very much like the hockey team was. But coach must have said something in the halftime, and I know he's going to tell a story about something happening out there. And they came out and they never looked back. It was really so very exciting and just great for Middletown. So I know, Coach, you're going to recognize your student athletes. Oh, sure. Here's your certificates for them, and
I'll hand these out. We've got a team celebration and cookout happening this Saturday, and boys, come on up, guys. Come on up. I'll share these with the boys then, but I will share that story with you if you were there. I don't remember it all that well because it was so surreal. So we have a saying at Middletown High School boys lacrosse that we play for the creator. And if you know the story of lacrosse, you know it as the oldest field sport in North America, invented by the Native Americans and played for the creator. It was played so that the creator would help heal the sick. It was played as an alternate to war, so tribes could figure out disputes amongst one another on the ball field as opposed to on the battlefield. And so throughout the season, we often refer to that we play for the creator. And we were blessed with some incredibly unusually nice weather this year for the majority of the season. So before practice, we would come together for a huddle and we would thank the creator for blessing us with great weather for that day. Well, lo and behold, on the state championship Sunday, when we got to Brown, it was spitting rain and it was kind of nasty out and it was cold and just wasn't a real nice day. And sure enough, in the first quarter, we found ourselves down 6-2. And that's a pretty wide margin in the game of lacrosse. I didn't share that with the boys at halftime. That wasn't part of my halftime speech, but we were down 6-2. At halftime, we had come back, we had clawed back a little bit. It was 9-6. And so at halftime, what happens is each team goes off onto a corner of the field and you have those halftime conversations with the kids about adjustments you're going to make and what we're doing well and what we could be doing better. And it was during that halftime that the sky started to clear and the sun started to come out, and lo and behold, a rainbow formed over the field. And wouldn't you know it, the end of the rainbow was coming right down on our team huddle where we were on the field. I kid you not. We have photo documentation of this. And so I don't know if that was the creator's way of telling us that he had our back, or if it was maybe a little bit of Irish sprinkled in there, and that it was an O'Shea and a Fitzgerald and an O'Hagan that helped lead that comeback. But it was again, the word I come back to is surreal. So it was special. We limited Pilgrim to 1 goal in the second half and won the game 12-10. And it was on the way home, one of the parents sent me a text of a picture of some of our seniors who had played for our youth development program, Island Youth Lacrosse. And it was a picture of them when they were in the 3rd and 4th grade and they had won their championship. And the caption was "Champions Then, Champions Now." And it got me thinking about one of the reasons that we've had success at Middletown High School is because of our feeder program and because of the investments we've made in youth lacrosse on the island for our K through 8 boys and girls with Island Youth Lacrosse. And I say that because I'd be remiss in not mentioning that I know you have a lot on your plate right now with the new school proposal and the vote that's coming and so forth. And we understand where that new school is slated to go, and we understand the whys behind that. It makes sense. What we would ask as a program and for the continued future of our program is that as you make those plans, you consider early on where you might relocate those multi-purpose fields for our youth, because it's been a big part of our success as to becoming champions at the high school level are the things we've done along the way to prepare these kids. So that's our ask of you guys. Thank you.
It's all part of the discussion. Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So just worth mentioning, this is a team celebration, but we did recognize a few individual achievements along the way. Keaton O'Shea, Liam Fitzgerald, and Christian Berluti were named first team all division at their positions. And we found out just a couple of days ago that Keaton O'Shea was voted academic All-American,
Yeah.
which we're going to do some checking on this with Miss Massaro and do some archive hunting, but we think that might be the first academic All-American out of Middletown High School. So quite
Thinking too. Yeah.
quite an achievement.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we thank you for having us today, boys. Congratulations. This is a community win and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Neil. Coach. We want to thank you for all of your hard work and dedication.
Thank
And
you.
it's nice to see these guys up here again, because I know in 2017, when Boys won. My son was on that team and it's,
Bill was part of that team.
yes, he was. And it,
Back in 18 and we plan to be back again.
yep. So it's very exciting to see your success.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
boys.
Thank you.
We're gonna have a short recess. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to, but yeah, be right back. Okay, we've returned from our brief recess. Again, congratulations to all of our awards and athletics and music and arts and things like that. So congratulations to all of them. Next, we're moving on to Spotlight on Teaching and Learning, and we have a presentation on our new math curriculum by Mrs. Bulk and Mr. Niedermeyer.
So Billy and I had the great opportunity. We volunteered right away to head up the math curriculum for Middletown Public Schools. So I did K through 5 and Billy did 6 through 12. And here we go. So our K to 5 team, as you can see, was quite large. We had from preschool all the way to 5th grade. We had a representative from every grade, and both Forest and Aquidneck grades were represented. We had a great representation from special ed too. And I made Becky join us too for GLA. So this was our team, quite a large turnout.
We had a good list from 6 to 12 as well. All the math teachers at the middle school participated, and a fair share from the high school. So we had a great representation kind of for all the classes that are taught, particularly at the high school, and everybody from middle schools there. So a big part of this decision, a lot of it was teacher driven.
So just to refresh your memory from the ELA curriculum, so we have high quality curriculum materials plus strong implementation with professional development equals equity for all learners and increased student achievement. So we really believe that with this high quality curriculum, we'll see improvements in student outcomes. And I think elementary has done ELA. This is our second year. And when we're looking at our DIBEL scores and in Mentum, we've definitely seen an increase of students. So with our team, we came up with a vision for math, what it looks like in Middletown. So the first bullet was more of the elementary level. So we talked about that they'll use different modalities to explore math concepts. They'll build strong number sense to support foundational concepts in math. Again, building that strong foundation at the elementary level, and they'll problem solve using different strategies and able to support their thinking through math discourse, which is talking about their math. And then Billy looked at what it would look like more as our integrated with our middle school and upper elementary, but we're looking for things that challenge them no matter what their ability, taught strategy instead of process. So very different from when we went to school of just wrote and doing over and over and over again, and then understanding why they're doing the math, not just the how. And if they have learning gaps, we'll support them with resources to their learning. And then as we are in the 21st century, we would like to have some online component to our mathematical thinking. So I'm sure you saw this with the ELA, but looking at Rhode Island and implementing curriculum, we've done, I think we're in the purplish color 2023. So we're going to select an ELA math, and we already have our ELA all set. And then we'll be moving on to in January 2024 and 25 for science. Billy and I are out of that group. We did math and I did ELA. And then looking at Middletown's timeline, we've been working on curriculum since 2021. We did the ELA, then K to 5 implemented it in 2021, 2022. And then 6 through 12 picked their ELA. And then this year we've looked at math, and everyone K to 12 will implement math next school year, which seems very far away, but it's right around the corner. So why is high quality curriculum important? All students deserve access to high quality curriculum materials. They shouldn't vary on the school district or the school or the classroom. They have to be standard aligned and improve student outcomes. And our curriculum materials support educators in their work. Teacher can spend less time searching for materials and more time deepening their content knowledge. Also, I think this is a big one, and I'm sure you would agree, Billy, that coherence within the grade levels and everyone's doing the same thing. And effective tier 1 instruction helps reduce the number of students needing interventions. So just like ELA, we had to look for greenlit curriculums and using that RIDE website. In math, it looks at 3 areas. It's focus and coherence, rigor and mathematical practices, and usability.
Ed
Sure.
reports is essentially like consumer reports for curriculum.
So we talked about what are our non-negotiables for our K-12 curriculum, and we said it had to meet all our student needs. L, special education, we had to have DI, had to have tier 2 instruction and tier 3 instruction built into it. We had to have assessment baselines, progress monitoring, and end of the year assessments. I think a big one, especially for the elementary level, is a PD component for math. It had to be standards-based. We had to have our mathematical practices in there. We wanted real-world application and hands-on manipulatives. Students needed to be able to develop a number sense, consistency, building on each year to the next, and rigor. So just a few needs. So Michelle gave us our timeline and I was like, oh, we got this. And then as the year went on, I was like, holy mackerel, Billy, we need to get going. So it goes really quick. So first we talked to stakeholders. Billy made some surveys and we gave those out on what were our non-negotiables. We dwindled our choices down to 4 materials. We became salespeople and
Yep.
reached out to them and got things sent to us. Our math team brought it back to PLCs and said, this is what we have. What do you like? What are you not liking? What are some things you're wanting? So not only do our team have it, but we had input from everyone. We whittled it down to 2. And then I know at the K-3 level, we were having a lot of, we had it whittled down to 3. We had a lot of choices to go through and everyone was kind of all over the place. So Lisa, myself, and Michelle brought Aquidneck and Forest together for a PD day after school. And we laid it all out. We set a plan for people to teach lessons and give feedback. We even got student feedback of what materials they liked and why they liked them. And from there, we had our choice.
Yeah,
know,
no,
your
exactly the same.
same.
We were kind of torn. We had a lot of varying opinions and a lot of good reasoning behind those opinions. But we decided that we just went ahead and had everybody pilot lessons from each of our finals. Just to make sure, 100%. You know, we had people that were piloting, but we wanted across the board to kind of pilot things and look at it together and be able to kind of break things down that way. So
I think one big positive is that, especially at the elementary level, everyone teaches math. So we had everyone teaching it, even if you weren't on the committee. So K-3 came up with our choice that we're presenting to you. It's called Bridges. It's a very hands-on math curriculum. It's not driven by a lot of worksheets and just skill and drill. It's more about making students understand, developing a number sense. They have 3 kind of places to look for math. So they have your problem and investigation. A lot of work with games is introduced. A lot of, for our younger K1, a lot of manipulatives and moving it around. And then they also have they do have some worksheets and assessments. And then they have a thing called Number Corner, which is kind of what would be done at a morning meeting when you're doing the calendar and they talk about all the math things that you would see, like counting by fives, counting by tens. What do you notice with in the ones place, in the tens place? And really looking at numbers in real life. So that was a big, it was a big thing for elementary. We really liked that hands-on component, and really learning math through games and having to talk about why your answer is right. And if someone said the answer was, 12 bears, well, how do you know he's right? So a lot of explaining, a lot of working in partners, working in groups, a lot of station rotation. I did the click on for your things, but you can see the ed report review of bridges. I just pulled out the grades that we had to show you that they were all green lit. And then kind of pulled out some pictures on there. I put in a few videos for you to watch just so you can see what it looks like in the classroom, but it's very hands-on. If you look, that's kind of what our classrooms look like right now. They're on the rug. She's teaching a lesson. They have manipulatives in front of them. They're working with partners. They're proving their answers in multiple ways, not just paper and pencil, but they have modeling going on and they're sharing their strategies. And this little girl, she's very intense about doing her counting. And if you see right above her head, we do a lot of work with 10 frames and understanding, place value based upon tens. And then another thing that kind of stood out for us, that it was inquiry based, it was student centered, and it focuses on the developing mathematical reasoning, which is a huge thing to work with young children on. They also had a really good professional learning path. If you click on that, we were very key on not just how to use your curriculum, but really for elementary teachers who teach everything and don't have a mathematical background of what does good math thinking look like. They have a lot of webinars, a lot of things that you can take, listen to, like we did for the science of reading, and really work on that. That comes with the program. All right, I'm gonna switch it.
I was just gonna ask, are you getting I think it said that was the 20 minutes of the corner time and then like 60 minutes of instruction time? Do you think that, are they getting that 80 minutes a day of that with all the other subjects?
Elementary felt like we could put that would fit in perfectly because they do a morning meeting anyways and do that. So that part would be in there. And then 60 minutes of math is very easy to do. So just kind of combining them. So we were super happy. There is some online component, and I have to say Bridges was very family friendly. So I know a lot of people like, oh, math, I don't know how to do it, borrowing and like we were taught, but there was a lot of videos that you could watch to show for parents how to do it. There's letters that go home. So very friendly that way. And, playing a game teaches a lot of skills in math, not only how to do the math, but how to take a turn, how to use your manipulatives appropriately.
Parents will have access to
Mhm.
those.
Yeah, a lot of our teachers do have games, and a great thing about Bridges, they're all made for the teachers. They put them in these cute little baggies, send them home, they play them, and they come back.
For grades 4 to 8, so the Learning Academy in the middle school decided to go with, we're hoping for Reveal Math. So basically, I don't want to read this too much, but basically, they insist that they know how students learn best, productive struggle, rich tasks, and discourse. So right, we need to talk about math, and we need rigor. Right now, and not that my teachers aren't doing a terrific job, they are doing a bang-up job right now, but everything is self-created, right? So they're working with old books that they have, they're supplementing, they spend the lion's share of their time creating things. Where I think that we have this here, and it's all aligned with the standards. So this is kind of a sales pitch right there. So I'm not going to read the rest of that to you for sure. Reveal comes highly recommended. It's green. I think it was pretty much essentially a unanimous vote across. I know for 4, 5, all the way through 8. Ed Reports is there if you want to dig a little deeper into that, but it does come highly recommended. So research-based approach, you guys obviously checked out these links. They're all linked in there. I think the big thing here is like, what are the practitioners like about it, right? What are the teachers like? We've just made a jump to standards-based report cards, aligns really well with that. I know that's kind of an operational thing. The rigor is something I think that is I think, you know, if you have rigor in pockets, not so good. If we have rigor across the board, consistency, it pays off in the long run, and good problems with context. I mean, word problems, good problems with context that have kids reading, that have kids thinking about math, not just doing the algorithm, right? I think that's something that I've experienced success in other districts with really a focus on that. Student friendly, everything teacher friendly as well. Everything's kind of in it when they ran lessons. They've already integrated things into the Google Classroom, kind of a seamless transition. I think it was very user friendly for the teachers. They had videos. They do have a program called ALEX, which is a prescriptive intervention program. You know, kids will take like a pre-test essentially. You have a couple options there. Teachers can assign things, like so if we're working on, you know, adding and subtracting fractions, they can assign work around that, or it also has a learning path built in for the kids. So based on where the kid tested on a pre-test, they can kind of run with that independently. So you kind of a dual purpose there, right? One is to reinforce what you're working on now, and one is to kind of fill gaps. So it helps kind of in what we're doing, big picture in the school as well, right? And then they have good tier 2 and 3 resources, obviously, for our L population, our special education students, all of our kids that need extra help. So the teachers really did enjoy that part of it. They thought it was thorough and provided a lot of opportunity for them. So 9 to 12, the high school wanted to go a different direction. They were into Envision integrated mathematics. In a nutshell, the integrated component of it is you take something like algebra, and instead of teaching that in a bucket, teaching geometry in a bucket, and teaching whatever else in these isolated courses, their whole thing is things spiral, right? So the algebra kind of reoccurs throughout the whole process. I may be oversimplifying that because I'm an English major.
I
Again,
can help you on that. It's very important when
There
you're
you go.
taking SATs, and the pre-SAT stuff. When you're PSATs, when you're looking at that, if you are really high in math and you've already taken it, it's nice that it's coming back around. So you're seeing that spiral again, because a lot of our higher kids may have taken algebra 1 in
Eighth grade.
and they're in trig, but then when you go to take the SATs, you still need to know.
A little rusty.
that. So it's nice that it's showing up again.
That was actually the biggest draw for the high school, was that, initially we kind of talked a lot, well, wouldn't it be great? We want the continuity between the two, but the alignment to the SAT really in this spiral kind of outweighed the continuity. So they were really passionate about going with this program. They do like the efficiency of it. It was, I think, a little more geared towards, it suited them a little more than as high school instructors. They like the integrated approach to teaching math, and they like the resources there. They, same thing with our MLL students and our special education students. They thought it was a great fit for them. So the high school is recommending that we go with this from 9 to 12. Again, linked a couple things here. Like Erica said, PD is super important. You can't so much. It's very important. You can't just drop the books off in the classroom and say, good luck. So they do have a plan. Both programs have a plan. There's a video here for you to watch if you would like. I think that might be it. That's it. Any questions?
Couple of quick, they're 3 different programs.
Yes.
So I'm sure they seamlessly run one obviously into another, as opposed to one overarching company that produces the ones that kind of
Yeah. So
We
go
talked
across
about
the
that
board.
a
Yeah.
lot. So,
We pushed on this too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys, you were very good.
so when we
was
looked
right.
at
You want the mic?
Bridges does pre-K through 5th grade. And then Reveal does, I think, I don't think they had a pre-K, did they? They have K through 8th grade. And when we looked at it, we like different things for different reasons. When we looked at the Reveal, we found that the lower grades, the K and 1, was very basic, and it was weird because my thought was when we opened it up, it look like something you would buy at the grocery store. Like not a lot of rigor at the lower level. But Becky and I worked a lot with how you make that transition from third to fourth. So Bridges offers two kits that work on tier 2 and tier 3. So 4 or 5 will use those kits for the kids that struggle. So those kids that still need that hands-on, really working things out, seeing it in multiple modalities, touch it, feel it, make it, model it, draw it, they'll have that, and that will be the seamless going into reveal.
Sure. Because we did have a lot of discussion about this, so we felt like for
Becky and I almost became not friends about this. No, I'm just kidding.
for the pre-K to 3, really building those foundational skills is super, super important. And then as they transition to 4th grade, continuing those foundational skills, but also building that algorithmic piece, which they're going to need when they get to 5th grade, 6th grade. And that's going to make the transition from 5th to 6th even more seamless. And then as they go through their middle school career up to the high school. So we really thought that the foundational skills happening pre-K to 3. And as we've seen with ELA, you know, we're already in a way better place from seeing 2 years of our program being implemented. And hopefully we'll see the same thing for math. And then that algorithmic piece will be helpful for as they move forward in their middle school career.
And they do all obviously have enrichment type as well as.
They do. And I think when we looked at what other people around the state have chosen, no one just chose one program
No.
K to 12, because I think different programs target different things. I know Envision was a big one for the high school. Well, most high schools are using Envision. And if I had to guess, not that I did the high school thing, it's because of that cycling for PSATs and SATs.
Do you know if Newport has chosen that?
Newport
Curiosity, you know, kids are over
Newport
there.
did, I know for elementary, they did iReady.
Okay.
And they did for interventions, they did Bridges. And if you talk to a lot of the teachers at Pell, they wish they did Bridges for everything.
How about the high school? Any idea? How about the high school? Any
No,
idea?
I'm
Just
in Little
knowing
Land now.
with this, what math program they chose? I know, you know, when the kids go for the CTE, sometimes they take other courses that are there.
I can
Just
share it
curious.
with you. There's a
Curious.
thing on the RIDE website that
Okay.
says what every district
Oh, I can
has
probably,
picked.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can share
Yeah.
that with you.
Yeah, we were, you know, we wanted probably less than 3, but when you talk to, you know, both Becky, or the three here, Becky, Erica, and Billy, the teachers were really passionate about the 3 programs, and it was, yeah, let's go with the 3 programs. So that will be our recommendation to the committee tonight under an action item.
Okay,
Any other questions?
thank you very much.
Let me, I got stuck in a class with my daughter up in north of Albany. And when you first walked in, I could only think of this question for you folks. Okay, what did the triangle say to the circle? There you go. I want you to,
The triangle say to this.
all right,
Why
I'll
you're-
give you the answer.
Please.
You have no points.
I was thinking that. I was
Oh.
going there. Something with
Well,
point.
the kids about 7th grade, they thought that was funny because I couldn't answer it.
I know.
There you go.
As a former math teacher, I know all those math
All
jokes.
little tricks.
Yeah.
Very good, Mr. O'Connell.
That's
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very
you.
much. Okay, next we're moving on to information.
Just in your information packet, our town council, there are updates for our budget meetings. So let me pull that up. Teresa, did you want to read those?
Sure,
budget
so
meetings?
they've changed the meetings again for the public hearings. The June 26th meeting, I'm sorry, so now the the first public hearing is Tuesday, July 11th, 6 PM. And the second budget hearing is Wednesday, July 19th at 6 PM, and that's when they'll be adopting the budget. So we got that information today. And then there's a list of other meetings throughout the next few months that are regular meetings and then some canceled and so on and so forth. So I'm not quite sure what the special meeting is on June 26th, CDBG. What does that stand for?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. It says special meeting, public hearing. CDBG, I don't know, but that's so our budget hearings have been moved to July.
Yep, I don't know if Peter knows he's here.
I don't know, Peter, what does that mean? It says special meeting on June 26th, public hearing, CDBG. Okay,
Community Development Block Grant. Okay.
thank you. All right, so that's it. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Old business.
Okay, so how Jeff has and the team have been working on two big projects throughout the year. Actually, one of them starting in last summer around this time, the student wellness policy. And you heard our student government come and talk about the class rank update. So Jeff tonight is going to recommend the class rank motion and also the new student wellness policy. So I invite Jeff. We're taking every day of his with us. We're not letting go until the end.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you inviting me up. And, just to reiterate a little bit real quick before, I know with proclamations and awards, they just seem to keep coming for Middletown and specifically for Middletown High School, which is something we're super proud about. I know Coach Harold didn't speak about it a little bit, but with our lacrosse team, one of the things that I think was maybe even more, impressive than them winning the championship was, one of the last games of the year, they got in a little bit of a dust up with a team. And it was one of those things that was, definitely something we looked into carefully. And I thought the way that our team handled themselves and, reported out on the situation and the kids represented themselves. And we had some pretty serious, what could have been conversations that sunk that season. And the kids owned, their mistakes and they were really mature and responsible about the whole situation. And, it just goes to show, what good character coupled with talent can do. So that was something I wanted to highlight. And also, if you weren't at graduation, to highlight one of the things that has recently happened. Jason Hayes, who's a senior that just recently graduated from Middletown High School, finished #1 throwing the discus in New England. At New England's, he wasn't present at graduation because he was throwing, and he has since won, that event and has pretty much a full scholarship to Liberty University to throw discus and shot put. So that's also, just another amazing accomplishment that seems to be coming in the last week of school. So, in regards to the policy work, definitely a lot of work that went into both of these policies across stakeholders throughout the district. Some of the things that are near and dear to my heart are going to be presented tonight because these are things that were conversations that started 3 years ago when I arrived in district and have happened sometimes in flurry and sometimes a little bit less so throughout the last 3 years. And as I kind of finish up here, things that I'm really happy to put proposals forward for votes and for consideration. So the first of the two policies that I wanted to talk about was external class rank or external reporting of class rank. Conversation started literally within the first 3 months of me arriving in district. With personal preference, I have a strong philosophical belief that I don't like the practice of valedictorian and salutatorian in first and second place in the senior class. I also don't like the idea of weighted GPAs, which gives extra, for lack of better terms, bonus points for students for taking honors and AP classes for a variety of reasons. And then one of the other things that sticks with me is reporting of class rank and ranking out our students 1 to whatever the number is in the bottom of the class, putting that on student transcripts that go with them when they leave our institution. Just the competitive component of that mixed with a lot of different post-secondary considerations. For me, the cons outweigh the pros in several of these. On the way in, I tried to poll our staff and our students on how they felt about these three situations because decisions, as we all know, aren't made in vacuums. And valedictorian, salutatorian, and weighted GPAs were very heavily favored in keeping those practices. So we moved away from that conversation, whereas class rank was split almost 50-50 between faculty and students. So that was something that we really started to talk about over the course of the next 2 years. To speak about what is our feeling as a school district? Do we believe in this practice? Do we want to continue this practice? What are the pros and cons? And a big thing for me was involving the students in that conversation, particularly our student government. At the high school, a lot of times the student government ends up planning a lot of things like prom and special events and club fairs, et cetera. And I really wanted to get them involved in the curricular process a little bit more and having big ticket decisions and voices at the table for things that relate to academics and post-secondary. So with that said, we had a pretty extensive review and debate team for the better course of what really kind of hit the ground running this past fall and winter. The mixture of students and faculty and community members and administrators that had say in the process was really something that I'm proud of and impressed with. We had a prior associate principal who was heavily involved in the process. Our new associate principal, who's in the audience tonight, Mr. DeValve, also has been heavily involved in the process. So it's something that's carried across people coming and going from the district. And I think really is representative of where student voice is and where the community voice is at the high school right now. As a breakdown of the timeline, you can see, as I said, it's somewhat of a longitudinal effort with conversations starting in December of 2020 and have continued and concluded just as early as this month. There was what I would consider a foundational presentation that was done by our senior class president and vice president earlier in the spring. And their recommendation was to get rid of class rank or external reporting of class rank at the high school. But there wasn't much in the way of recommendations moving forward for where we're going from there. So at the time, the committee had asked us to go back to the table and have some internal conversations about what next steps might be. So that's what we've been doing essentially since March when we received that recommendation. So our current practice right now, just to fill in the audience if we're not aware, we begin ranking students at the close of their junior year to the 1,000th place at the high school. So students in our guidance records might have a 3.112. That might be student number 15 in the class. Student number 16 could be 3.113. And we literally take it to that level depending on what courses they've taken and the grades that they've received in those courses. We do base our class rank and our GPAs on a weighted scale, which is one of the things that we saw as a discrepancy based on reporting class rank. Because of the high school right now, we do weight prep level and honors classes the same for grade point average purposes. We do give bonus points or a grade bump is traditionally what it's called to AP or advanced placement classes. Right now, we do not have AP credit going to students that take CCRI courses that are post-secondary, whether it be to take them as an elective or to fill in another course space or to do enrichment opportunities. That's not part of our practice in our program of studies, but something that was discussed as potentially being put into the program of studies proposal for next February. But generally speaking, that's where the numbers, quote unquote, come from. The class calculations or the class rank calculations, another thing that was seen as somewhat of a discrepancy for the senior class and students didn't know and were quite surprised by. While class rank opens at the beginning of the middle of junior year, it ends by first semester of senior year. So whoever is number 1, number 2, number 3 in class rank, that race, for lack of better terms, closes around Christmas time. And the reason for that is because we have to prepare for awards and outward reporting of this information to colleges. And what's also seen as kind of something that people don't recognize is that usually by graduation day in June, those numbers aren't the same. So the valedictorian that speaks at graduation is usually not the person that's in first anymore after their second semester course grades come in. So it was seen as a little bit of an ill-represented metric and of who finished first if we were going that direction anyway. The class rank is kept in guidance right now. It stays there. But the big proposal, which seems like a minor change, but is actually a major one, is when we share out transcripts, which have students' final grades on them to colleges or if they change schools, their class rank is right under their name and their demographic information. You see number blank out of blank. And that's really what we were targeting with this conversation. So the proposed change was to get rid of the external rank of the external reporting of class rank, get rid of that line on the transcript altogether. We would still amend the program of studies to reflect the suggested updates, which we haven't done yet because there's been no vote. And we'd continue to keep class rank and GPA calculations, in-house. So essentially, guidance would still house these in their digital records, but they wouldn't be presented on transcripts. The big reason for keeping them in-house, twofold. Families and community members, or specifically families because of FERPA, that felt passionate about wanting their class rank to report out, they can request that information. And it would still be on file and we could share it with them. It wouldn't be on their official transcript, but it would be a supplementary document that would go with them to whatever college or institution they want. So it's still accessible. The other reason why we wanted to keep class rank on the books is because right now we do still have a valedictorian, we do still have a salutatorian. Those positions are determined by students' GPA. And we do still honor what we consider, we call it our Magnificent 10, which is our top 10 students. That also is related to GPA. So those are still practices that are in place. So completely wiping class rank off the books and not keeping that close of a charting of GPA would eliminate our ability to accurately represent those positions. So essentially that takes us to where the proposal is, which is wiping class rank off of the transcripts, but keeping it in-house in the guidance department for recommendation, or if a family wanted to request, we could do that. And right now we would be continuing to keep valedictorian, salutatorian, and top 10 pending further discussion and presentations to you all in the community.
And it would start with the rising
Yes.
juniors.
Yep. So the proposal
Rising
for us would
seniors.
be that this upcoming junior class, senior class, so the class of 2024, this would go into effect for these incoming seniors. And that's actually, I really appreciate you sharing, Ms. Krager, because, one of the changes when we talk about the other two, weighted GPA and valedictorian, salutatorian, one of the difficulties of making that decision on the spot is you move the goalposts for kids that have already started their high school program of studies, students that have already planned to take certain classes, where this is a big deal and part of their high school experience. If you were to make changes into those two, the recommendation that I would propose would be you'd have to do it for an incoming freshman class, that their 4-year experience would start there. Whereas class rank's a little bit different. You don't lose anything essentially by keeping it internally and just wiping that line from a transcript. You could do that for a class that's already started. Information's still available for people that want it. It's just not a practice we use to share it outwardly.
Any idea on on how many districts are doing it this way or versus the other way, like data wise?
Yeah, so in my, again, and I don't know wide scale, but
Mhm.
just from conversations today with Principal Sweet coming into the high school, South King, her experience with Westerly and North Kingstown, neither reports
Mhm.
external class rank from what she shared earlier today. I know from my previous experience with East Greenwich, they don't do it either. I'm not sure what Portsmouth School District does next to us or Rogers. But I know it is,
We
it
had
is a
some of that
conversation.
data, and
I was just curious.
yeah, we also had some of the data from a college admission officer that
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Can I ask you,
Mhm.
do I understand you're only doing the class rank goes from mid-junior year to
Mhm.
the mid-senior year?
So it's only reported then. So essentially, if I was a sophomore and I came to ask my guidance counselor, what's my class rank? It's NA. That's not available yet because it's seen as, because of the numerical calculations and the classes you've taken by your sophomore year, maybe you've finished 7, 8 classes and you're enrolled in maybe another 7, 6, 7. So because there's a small sample size, you're not going to get a really good representation of what that number to the 1,000th of a point is. So you need a little bit more, data to be thrown into the mix. And that's why traditionally speaking, junior year is the first time. Additionally, class rank, really nobody asks for it until a junior year because junior year kids start applying for scholarships. Junior year kids start applying to colleges. So when those, share out types of opportunities happen, that's usually where those things are reported and in the past have been touted as, look at me, I'm number 10 in my class. The problem is you're 10 in a class of 120, but in Westerly is a high school of 1,200 kids, right? So their number 10 is in the class of 320. So is the number 10 in Westerly smarter than the number 10 in Middletown? I'd put the Middletown kid up against the Westerly kid any day of the week. But, that numerical representation does our students no favors.
And it still will remain that short in that time span.
Yeah. And again, unless,
Because you have that,
yeah.
you don't have enough data to do it
Right, and you
beforehand.
start taking more advanced classes in
Right.
junior year anyway. You're in more honors or AP classes and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So you really are then getting the meat of it
Yeah.
rather than freshman and sophomore year when you're taking basic
Mm.
core classes like you do when you first get into college. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a very good decision. I think it's a good happy medium for now. If the decision in the future is to eliminate it, as we've discussed, we would have to definitely start with an incoming freshman class because I think that's the right way to do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think this is a good way to transition and go from here.
Great,
So,
great.
all right, thank you.
So this
And-
will be on your action items
Mhm.
later on.
And then our second policy that we had discussed extensively, mainly as Rosemary had shared, from the past summer into the early fall / winter of this school year, was a review of the substance abuse and wellness policy. Shorthand, it's called or referred to in the community by students and families as the chemical health policy, because that's what it was referred to as in the past. More formal and appropriate name would be the substance abuse and wellness policy. It's policy 7110 in the hand. I believe it's 7110. It's on here. 7010. 7010. And there's been significant conversation around the state over the last, 10 years around substance use and abuse 365 24/7 policy. So this is the Middletown iteration of this policy that basically discourages the use of drugs and alcohol 365 days, 24 hours, 7 days a week throughout the year. One of the big conversations that had this and brought this to light is that we have a seasonal meeting with our athletes in particular, but also designed for our co-curricular, extracurricular students, drama and music. And then it's supposed to be for academic clubs as well, to talk about how participating in any of these less than ideal behaviors could result in you being removed from your team for X amount of time, depending on the nature of the circumstance, the number of times that you've been in violation of the policy, those types of things. There's a lot of debate around how actionable these policies are based on the fact that, on the weekends or after hours, what types of disciplinary consequences can be assigned from a school district. There's definitely some legal conversation that weighs into that has happened at the beginning of this process as well, and has with a lot of other school districts. So we wanted to review our policy and make sure that it was representative of what our school community, teachers, faculty, families, students felt as though was fair, was asset-based in the sense of not, taking a pound of flesh from a student that makes a mistake, but getting them help if they're participating in these types of behaviors and focusing on those types of things. And we really wanted to look closely at it because this is one that's pretty popularly debated in the community. So over the past 3 years, as I said, there's been a little bit of a concern about the whole, scope of this policy. There's also been grumblings about concerns of the policy unfairly targeting student athletes and not targeting all extracurricular students, or at least holding them to the same standards. There's also concerns about how the policy is rolled out, and this isn't necessarily part of the presentation, but on the periphery, with people taking issue to the type of presentation. So those seasonal chemical health presentations I referred to, parents are required to attend with students every season. In COVID times, we were doing virtual. We went back to in-person for several. We've ebbed back to virtual. We've missed seasons completely since COVID. So there's a little bit of a wishy-washiness to the way that the information is presented and the goal, other than reading the policy to somebody, what types of information are shared out. There's times when Life of an Athlete from Utah, which is an unbelievable program that was gained a lot of momentum a couple of years back, about how drugs and alcohol affect athletes' bodies and take away from their training and physiology. That was, I believe, where the policy started, or was really gaining steam with the chemical health component of things. But then there's since been times when we've had guest speakers that, have been great, and some that have fallen flat, and parents have called and said, why am I sitting through this for an hour? So you hear it all over the map. There's also, like I said, concerns of the disciplinary nature. So again, an extensive review team. We had a wide variety of individuals in the fall and in the winter in particular. We hosted Zoom sessions almost bi-weekly. Unfortunately, that kind of died down when the Christmas season came and we really got into the nitty-gritty of the school year. So there was kind of a lull in this conversation. We got about 98% through the proposal, but didn't get through the finish line of 100%. So that's something I want to mention as a caveat. We did not get through 100% with this collective team. We got about 98% there, but you will get a proposal based on those conversations. That's something that we definitely should know. Okay. Timeline again. So you start with an initial brainstorm that happened in this past summer, although there were definitely informal conversations that occurred before that. Preliminary meetings you can see started predominantly in the fall, late summer, and moved through right up until November, December. We then started revisiting the conversation in March and May with our student athletes and community members to determine where we were at and to not essentially let it fall off the table. And then here we are today in June with a proposal. So I've also, with the shared presentation, shared links to the current policies for your review, so you can see kind of how it's written in the language as is right now. I gave you general summaries because, you know, the policy is several pages long. Basically, the policy, it's important to point out when it was created, was designed to target assistance and not punitive consequences. So despite the informal feedback that we receive, the goal really isn't to take a pound of flesh out of students. It's to get them help from student assistance counselors, recommend them to counselors out in the community, be supportive and allow them to remain active participants in their extracurriculars. But again, the general tone and tenor from the community is that's not how it feels. So we wanted to take a close look at that. So right now, without a change, the first offense that a student gets caught with drugs or alcohol or in the presence of, whether it be at a party after school, at the St. Patrick's Day parade, fill in the blank, student would be suspended from 2 games or contests or 20% of their activity, depending on which is less. So the lower of those 2 consequences. And the reason why that exists is because if you're a drama student, you only get 2 performances throughout the year. So what does that look like with rehearsals or things of that nature, student government, et cetera? There is the strong recommendation, while we can't require students to meet with the student assistance counselor, there's a strong recommendation in a parent meeting that students do have a meeting with student assistance counselor. And then right now, first offense is you forfeit a leadership role unless you apologize to your team in more of a face-to-face setting. A second offense, a student suspended for 90 calendar days. They are allowed, they're not kicked off the team completely. 90 days would essentially mean you're out for all contests in any of the sports we offer. If you get that second offense, then you're allowed to practice with your team, so you're not kicked to the curb essentially, but you cannot play in contests after 10 days. You forfeit your leadership role, as is the first offense, so there's no gaining that back. There's referral to outside counseling. Again, we can't require students to do that, but it's strongly encouraged with families and students. And then the suspension can be reduced to 45 days as somewhat of a carrot if the student agrees to help participate in a plan that informs the school of what that plan looks like, whether it be meeting with the student assistance counselor in school, meeting with an external counselor, some combination of both, etc. The third offense, if the student is caught the third time, suspended from all extracurriculars for 365 days, end of story, calendar days. The proposed changes that were made by the committee, and then the third offense is, like I said, where we didn't quite get across the finish line, just being completely transparent. The first offense would be that a student would be suspended for 1 calendar week of activity. We added in a community service component that would be added on to a senior graduation requirement. So as sits right now, our students are required to complete 20 hours community service prior to graduation. This would be added to essentially the Rolodex that we keep to track how many community service hours students have. So that 10 hours would have to be completed prior to graduation. That would be the timeline. They would again be strongly encouraged to meet with the student assistance counselor. They would be allowed to keep their leadership role on the team, but under a probationary basis. The second offense was that the student would be suspended for 45 calendar days, which is half of what was the initial proposal. We also proposed that they would be able to practice after 10 days. At that point, they would forfeit their leadership role if it happens again. They'd be required 10 more hours of community service, which could bring a total up to 40 hours for a student if they've done none. Towards graduation, referral to outside counseling, and then the same carrot implies that suspensions could be reduced to 30 calendar days if they agree to participate in an assistance plan. And then the final component is that the student suspended from all extracurriculars for 180 calendar days, which is essentially the school year. It could carry over into the next school year, depending on when the infraction happens, referral to outside counseling, and then the suspension can be reduced to 120 days if they agree to participate in an assistance plan.
Is this per school year or per season?
For a season or school year.
I mean, I'm saying if there's an offense, say you play lacrosse.
Yeah.
And then you have one offense there, and then your next you play,
Carries over.
does it
Yeah,
carry over
it
to the
does.
other?
Yeah.
365
So
days
it's
a
for
year,
the school year.
24/7.
Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
per sport or activity. or whatever.
No. So if you're a lacrosse player and you're caught drinking for practical terms, right?
Yep.
And that's a spring sport and you get a first offense, well then, if you get caught in basketball season in the winter, number 2
So it's for their high school career.
for high school career. Yes.
Dr. Jeff.
Yeah.
What about, the thing I've heard the most
Mhm.
of is in Middletown and Newport, no idea of Portsmouth, is the use of what they call vaporization.
Yeah.
This includes that?
Yeah, so, yeah, it would, yep. Mhm. I'm just trying to think of the policy wording, but yeah, it would.
Yeah, it's vapes,
Mhm.
It's tobacco,
any vapes,
any vapes,
any vaping.
Okay. That's
yep,
what I
all
need to know.
drugs.
Because I've heard that that's a problem in Middletown and Newport. I have
Cigarettes,
no
alcohol,
idea.
marijuana.
It's cut,
Vapes.
it was a bigger problem a few years ago.
Mhm.
Actually, I was talking to a student recently and that has cut back
Mhm.
in Middletown. I mean, it's still an issue,
Mhm.
but it definitely has cut back. When it first came out, it was,
Yeah.
but kids have smartened up and realized that it's really not a good.
Well, I found out
But
the problem I understood is the single bathrooms.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah. I mean, and the bigger problem with the vapes, not to get too far off of the policy, but the bigger problem with the vape is because it doesn't smell,
Mhm.
it's odorless, right? Because I mean, you really got to kind of do one of the squint eye things and you might see a little bit of distortion in your eyesight to figure out if a student's doing it or not, especially if they're in a stall with the door closed, sitting on the toilet per se, not to be too graphic.
I didn't know it was
Good luck. Yeah.
odorless.
Yeah, it's odorless. It's you can't see it. It's not like smoke. They can have smells, but the majority of kids understand that and don't. You can have vape detectors. We actually tried one out earlier in the school year. But you run into problems with vandalism, kids vandalizing those, and they're not cheap. And then you also run into problems with the responsiveness, right? So we would have the vape detector go off and we'd sprint upstairs, and try to get to the bathroom and catch the kid. And by the time you get there, nobody there. So could you review the cameras? Absolutely. But now you start to talk about the time suck of reviewing a camera to find a kid with a vape, to do an investigation, to have them deny it, to search their bag, to, now you're 3 days down the rabbit hole and there's already been 20 more kids that have vaped in the bathroom. So it's a constant problem that we definitely chase at the high school. And it's not to mean that we shouldn't address it as a community or school. But it's respectfully a consistent problem at all high schools and most middle schools as well. So.
When you, in your comments, you talked about that the athletes felt that they were being
Mhm.
singled out in some respects in this policy.
Yeah.
One suggestion I would make is, and any, like even your pictures and what
Yeah.
you talked about the teams, music advisor, the student government advisor, the theater advisor, I would add that language in here so it doesn't make it
Yeah.
seem like it's just focused on the athletes.
That's really helpful feedback. Thank you. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I think what we do, and I know it's in your next slide, but because I was part of this
Mhm.
policy for a long time, I think what we've done is we've tweaked it so that it's not focused just on students, it's all extracurricular activities. So instead of doing the parent meetings, all department heads are going to be required to do this with their group. I don't even want to say team, because it could
Yeah.
be the drama club, it could be the band, it could be whoever. So that is the big change that will happen so that it's not going to have to be parents signing off on this. That was another thing, the parents saying, I'm not signing off on this.
Mhm.
So instead, this is the coaches and the leadership people, advisors will be responsible to have this with the students, and attendance should be taken so that so all students are informed of what the consequences are going to be. And I think that's the best way of doing it. It's going to be in the in the student handbook and so on and so forth. But so we really wanted to make sure we were targeting all students. This was not just an isolated situation of student athletes.
Mhm.
What is the consequence for a student who doesn't participate in any extracurricular activities, who's
Well,
vaping in the bathroom or, drinking?
right. Well, you can't take away the punishment of a game or a
Right.
performance.
Take away.
But obviously there's suspension. I mean, there's in-house detention, things of those natures that
Yeah, so we have traditional things. I wish we could force them to join something, to be honest. Like that would be
Yeah.
my solution. I would love the flip side
Off
that
the lid.
if you are caught vaping, you do need to join a club. And that we can't do
Right,
that,
right.
because I mean, that's part of the reason to Ms. Spangler's point, to get the coaches and the advisors involved more because they have a much louder voice at the high school already since hiring Matt Kessler as the behavior specialist. He has a conduit to specifically the football players as the head football coach, where if there's a kid who's not coming in for a final or is acting like a knucklehead, he has a level of, voice and bravado with those kids that resonates that, our principal, associate principal, dean just don't have. So a lot of times Coach Harrell is the one that's overseeing these types of things informally as it exists right now. And those kids tend not to be as big of a, offenders with this because they don't want to display their teams and their coaches.
All students receiving the presentation? Or?
As of right now, no.
No.
It's
so
listed
only
in the,
those-
yeah.
Only those participating in an activity sport
Yep.
receive the presentation.
Yeah,
It doesn't go out.
which is
to
also a
all.
really good suggestion.
Well, the
Yeah.
difference is this, is that if a student is not involved in any extracurricular activities.
Right.
Mhm.
And they get caught on the outside and legal action is taken, well, then they're dealing with the legal issues as well. In-house, whether it's an athlete, a musician, an artist, whoever may get caught in-house, there's a whole, that's not what this is about. This is about
Mhm.
on the outside, getting caught 24/7, 365 days a year in the outside world, at the St. Patrick's Day Parade, at a party, on social media, you get caught with a cigarette in your hand because someone took a picture of you and a beer and a cigarette. So and again, that is all that came up too, as some of these things on social media can be altered,
Mhm.
because now things can happen.
Mhm.
Kids can be set up to look like they've done something wrong and they weren't, that didn't really happen. So yes, this is a policy that we're trying to focus that the kids that are involved in extracurricular activities are being hyper vigilant and not getting involved in substance use or abuse. However, the policy still stands that if a student's doing this on school property, it doesn't matter what they are, what they're involved in extracurricular activities. That consequence is a whole different ballgame. That's got nothing to do with this policy. Am I
Yes.
correct on
You're
that?
right,
Because
yeah.
that's different.
That is,
That's
yeah,
on school property. Everybody will have the same consequence.
absolutely.
no
So-
matter
so
what.
In-house suspensions,
Right.
multiple detentions, out of school suspensions, we actually try to lean away from with things like this because
Right.
the kid
What good
vapes,
is it?
yeah, we send them home to vape.
Doesn't do any good, and that was a big thing that I had. It doesn't do
Mhm.
anybody any good to suspend a student out of school.
Mhm.
If anything should happen, the student should be on in-house suspension, in-house detention,
Mhm.
and nobody should be sent out of school, in my opinion, for suspension, unless it's something extremely violent or,
Mhm.
but if somebody gets caught doing something inappropriate like this, they shouldn't be suspended. Because then they're gonna go home and do it at home instead unsupervised. So at least you have them on school property and they're having to deal with, and they're getting their work done. But this was a lot of work put into this. Again, as Jeff said, things did die off a little bit, but the last part of it was the third offense, which we were pretty much wrapping
Yeah.
that up of where we were standing. But this is a big difference from what the policy was.
Mhm.
And I think this
Mhm.
is a good place to be at this particular time.
And I wasn't necessarily thinking about the consequences, but I'm thinking about the presentations, like
Agreed.
some being great and some not being great.
Yes.
And I'm sure they'll get better and better. And as they do get better and better, it'd be nice to have that part of the presentation,
I agree.
with
And I
all
think there should be a
kids.
streamlined piece of the
Mhm.
presentation. I know we talked about that in our committees. It's not just an ad lib, like here's the policy, just, shoot from the hip type of thing to coaches and drama people, like making a slide deck. This is what you will share and giving them.
Standardizing.
Yeah,
Just wanna say
standardizing,
that
yeah.
Everything should be
Yeah,
standardized.
and
There should
then,
be
and
one-
then, yeah, you
one
have.
PowerPoint,
Mhm.
that
Not
all
left to
instructors.
Yep.
each coach and
Right.
not left to each advisor.
And that should be created
Mhm.
by whoever,
Yeah.
some of this team. And
I agree
and
with
those
you.
slides should be on there.
Yep.
And it should be the same one,
Mhm.
no matter what the extracurricular activity is.
Agreed.
Because that consistency is critical. It's not right for one coach might present it this way, one advisor might present it this way. One might think it's not a big deal. The other one's gonna be harsh. No.
Yeah.
Because consistent across the board. And I think that will come, hopefully by fall.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
Mhm.
this policy needs to get approved in order for them to move forward with some kind of presentation.
Yeah,
Dr.
and we do need 2 readings because
Mhm.
this is substantive changes.
So you have, and not to cut
Let
you
me
off,
ask you
Mr.
a
O'Connor.
question, Dr. Jeff.
Yep.
Do you have any numbers right now of how serious a problem this is?
I could get it for you. Yep, I
Yeah.
could get you those numbers.
I'd like to have, I don't know if you have anything over
Yeah.
the last few years. It's a little different
Yeah.
from when I was in school about 100 years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
We were taught, well, you played sports, you didn't smoke.
Yeah.
That was the only problem we ever had. I never remember anybody with alcohol. There was cigarettes always.
Yeah, vaping's the biggest problem we have right now, whether it
Right.
be, vaping's probably the biggest problem we have right now, whether it be
Problem, that's
marijuana
what
or
I gathered
tobacco.
from
But,
Newport and-
yeah, but, the other thing too is I can definitely get numbers. I can confidently say the data is worse than what the numbers are gonna show because it is so hard to track. I mean, I can't
Yep.
think of an instance in the last 3 years where we've caught somebody twice. Because they are so small, they're concealable. There's a million different shapes and looks to these things. You need a pretty decent bar to search a student's bag. So there's some things that come that make this difficult to track, but there's no doubt about it that I would say it's pervasive.
The other thing too is I think that the Middletown Prevention Coalition, that Lori has good information through the surveys over the last few
Yeah.
years that they did. And we talked about this last month, that we definitely have seen the numbers go down. There was this huge vaping at the beginning because it was new and and I think now with education that it's not okay. It's just as bad as smoking. We're seeing a little bit drop off, but you're still, like you said, because it's easy and it's not visible. But she'll have some good numbers too, so I can see if I can get some of the survey results.
Yeah, that'd be
from the
great.
last few
That'd be great.
years.
And I think the other thing too that students are realizing are they're expensive. So you buy something that's expensive, $70 to $200, and it gets confiscated if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time or whatever it may be. That's a chunk of change to lose. That's a video game system, for a high school kid. So I think
Yeah.
that's also resonating.
Bill, I think we should wait till Lori gives us that data, okay?
Yeah.
So we're all in sync. Lori Verderosa.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
And I did, not to interrupt, but I did, again, the link at the top here, you might not be able to see it with the color hue, but the proposed update, that's an edited version of the policy with new language based on the summary that I've provided.
Okay.
And
Thank you
I
very
would
much.
Tell Rosemarie, I don't think that has to be amplified or anything. It could be private, but I don't want to make it secret or
Yeah.
anything. like that.
Well, the Middletown Coalition does have an obligation to share that data, so it does become public.
She does the surveys yearly.
Yeah.
I talk to Lori all the time.
And she pushed the survey off till the fall this year, I think. Just because it was
Timing,
getting
yeah.
timing and results and whatnot, so I
that's
think
correct,
that would
yep.
be helpful. But we can go with what she has.
Yeah, that's the way I would.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
Thank you
and,
very much.
Yeah,
good work.
absolutely. Thank you.
both.
Thank you.
Okay, action item.
All right, next we'll move on to action items. Can I get a motion on homeschooling?
I make a motion, the school committee approve the homeschooling request 22-23-38 and 22-23-39 and 22-23-40.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the administrative assistant to the director of student services job description, second reading?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the assistant to the director of student services job description, second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the school business administrator job description, second reading?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the school business administrator job description, second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I get a motion on the preschool pre-K special educator job description, first reading?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the preschool pre-K special educator job description, first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on the elementary intensive special education teacher job description, first reading?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the elementary intensive special education teacher job description, first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on the Middletown High School class rank system?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the recommended Middletown High School class rank system, beginning with the class of 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion on the substance use and student wellness policy 7010 changes, first reading?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the proposed changes to the substance use and student wellness policy 7010, first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on the fiscal year 24 math curriculum?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the recommended FY 24 math curriculum 9 to 12 envisions integrated, 4 through 8 reveal math, pre-K through 3 bridges.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on the Bayada Home Healthcare Inc. contracts for fiscal year 24 services?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the Bayada Home Healthcare Inc. contracts FY 24 services.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on the Rhode Island Student Assistance Services contract for fiscal year 24 services?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the Rhode Island Student Assistant Services Contract FY 24.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion on the OTPT bid for fiscal year 24 services?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the winning OT PT bid for FY 24 services to Bristol County Rehabilitation Services, Inc.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion on? Sorry, on the bid for the mower?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the winning bid for the mower to Bulk Loom Lawn
And-
and Garden.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on the fiscal 22-23 budget adjustments?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the FY 22-23 budget adjustments in grant special revenue funds.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on recall?
I make a motion, the school committee authorize the superintendent to recall staff based on enrollment, need, and funding.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, moving on to the superintendent reports, and I do apologize, but I have to excuse myself. Okay, Vice Chair will take over.
Okay, for the superintendent reports, we hire effective July 1 is our new principal, Middletown High School, Donna Sweet. Hire effective July 10th, 2023. These are all extended year appointments. Sarah Alexander, pre-K 8, extended school year, special education teacher. Tracy Howland, preschool to 8, ESY, special education teacher. Nina Phillips, preschool to 8, ESY, nurse educator. Johanna Carteret, ESY, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Deb Prentice, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Casey Fasato, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Nicole Auger, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Eileen Nugent, Beyond the Bell, teacher, intervention teacher. Rochelle Poulin, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Helen Westall, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Trina Bona, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Paula Garino, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher. Kelly Halloran, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher assistant. Janine Mahapari, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher assistant. Frances Conley Movane, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher assistant. Mary Lantot, Beyond the Bell, teacher assistant. Elizabeth Coogan, Beyond the Bell, intervention teacher assistant. Bruce Crespo, Beyond the Bell, special ed teacher assistant. And Grace Flynn, pre-K to 8 special ed teacher assistants. On your sheet, I did have hiring the coaches, but I'd like to wait until the budget is approved. I'm not going to recommend those until our budget is approved. Okay, next on the reports. Let me see where I'm at here. Curriculum, you were versed very well in our curriculum tonight. Our assistant superintendent did put some curriculum updates in your status report, but we're excited about this new curriculum in math. And as our principal said, we've seen a difference in the in English language arts curriculum. Our scores have increased. We know that math is our weakness. When you look at our test scores with the implementation with fidelity of this math new curriculum, we hope we see growth in the math area. In terms of finance, in your package, you have our revenue and expense reports through the end of April, and we are in a good stance, favorable in expenses and our revenues report. So those reports go over to our town finance director and our town administrator at the end of the month. And again, kudos to our business office for getting those, and everybody who's working with us to balance our budget. So we feel very good where we are at this time compared to last year, that's for sure. Just an update in state aid. We did put in our budget. Everyone told us, oh, your state aid is going to go up. Everyone we talked to. So we took a risk. We put in the $500,000. As it turned out, the House Finance Committee did look at every district. We are one of the districts, I think it's 8 districts that are losing. So we lost not only $500,000, but we lost an additional $39,764. Some of it has to do with our enrollment going down. We're down about 90 something students from last year. And we did accommodate for that in our staffing. We did not hire an English teacher last year at the high school, and we were down an elementary teacher. So we did accommodate for the 95 teachers. And I've been working with our town administrator, who I know is working with our town council to really fill a hole here with our school budget. It's going to be extremely challenging, but you know, we will work together and make this work. But it was a surprise. As you saw in the paper today, Newport also lost some state aid. Enrollment is going down across the state. There are a number of factors that go into that state aid. Enrollment is one, certainly, but the other is the ability of a town to pay, and you know, multiple factors in the state aid. So we're not on the winning side.
I did talk to Marvin Abney and Lou DePalma both about the funding formula and that it needed to be fixed to help towns like ours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They have to do something a little bit to flatten the loss that the other districts are doing, and then to take a look at, you know, what they say, ability and capacity to pay, really to take a look at a better kind of formula for that.
Yeah, Rosemary, I was asked the question, what's their loss in enrollment? And I said about 50. 90 seems quite high. Did we pick up any military?
Oh, you know, military are pretty stable. 95, there were about, was largely at the high school. And there was one elementary down and a little bit between Gaudet and the Gaudet Learning Academy. But again, we knew that going into this year, and we did not fill positions. You know, 95 does seem a lot. No, you could cut 4 teachers or whatever, but it's 95 kindergarten through 12. So you really can't. And then when you look at the course selection for at the high school, as I said, there were about 20 something students there. We did not fill an English position, but the effect of that is our students didn't have an English elective. So it's easy easier at maybe K to 5 when you see numbers and you can eliminate a teacher or so, but you know, all of our class size, I did forward all our class size. Our town administrator did ask for that, and all our class size, you can ask our principals, are very close to or at the capacity. 20 students, kindergarten through grade 2, 25 grades 3 to 12. Now, there are some classes at the high school that are a little bit smaller, but those are Project Lead the Way classes. Maybe there's 15, 16 in those. You know, you start cutting those classes and we don't have electives for students. So we have to be very strategic on how we eliminate classes. So.
We still 4 FTEs being laid off.
The layoffs will hold until we know where our budget is, with the budget being approved later by our town council. There will be some unemployment costs connected with that, but it's important that our town get the budget right. And I know they're working hard, our town administrator and our town council members, trying to make this work for everybody, all of the taxpayers, and support the schools. So.
Hey, re-asking a question. What is the date the council's gonna come
Um,
out? I've got the schedule
it's-
right here.
Hold on.
What date are they gonna?
So
First
the-
of all,
the
they have
first-
Not
the-
approved the 4%.
The first, so my understanding, is there is some talk about, exceeding the cap and making a request. I don't believe the council has voted on that, yet. There will be discussion perhaps next Tuesday on that. I haven't seen the agenda. I have, but I don't recall seeing that on there. The first public hearing is the 18th. And no, the first
Yeah,
public.
11th.
The 11th. And the second public hearing is the 18th, 19th. Oh, boy. Thank you.
11th and the 19th, yeah.
So the budget will be hopefully adopted by July 19th. That's why I want to hold on the coaches. Obviously, I'm not going to recall anyone because we don't know what our finances are going to be.
And the
We-
hope was to do that before.
Well,
They
it's
file.
always good to try to do it
Right.
before the end of the school year to not incur unemployment costs. But it is what it is. We need to do what we need to do.
And are we awaiting any other additional money information? It's all in now.
It's all in. Mhm. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to ask Poe to give us a facilities update. Poe?
Yes, so the Monday after school ends, they're gonna be replacing some of the flooring at Gaudet from the floods that we had over the winter. There'll be 3 classrooms and a few hallways that are gonna be getting done. Prior to the installation of the tile, we have to have an abatement team come in. Unfortunately, the mastic that's underneath the tiles that are there now has positive for asbestos. So they'll have to set up containment units. It's all gonna be done. We applied for state permits and everything to have it done properly. We're trying to minimize the effect. It kind of runs right up to the start of summer school and summer camp. If there's an overlap, then they're gonna be doing the work on second shift instead of first shift to allow the kids to use the school and not interrupt them. We're just working on the final dates right now as to when everything happens because due to certain testing and air quality tests from the state dictates a timeline that's going to be needed to have the work done. I don't know if you have any questions on that or. Also during that same time, my facilities crew goes into deep cleaning mode for the summertime. We do a lot of the projects that can't be done during the school year, which includes cleaning all the furniture in all the schools, stripping of the floors, re-waxing all of the floors, a lot of deep cleaning. They'll power wash bathrooms, disinfect everything, the walls and everything. So I have a lot of that work coming up over the summertime. Last 2 items I have, they were on previous school committee reports, but I was out due to illness. I'm not sure if they get spoken about. The Middletown Fire Department has agreed to purchase 8 new AEDs for us, including one for this building, which doesn't have one. We're pretty close. I think some of them have already been installed, so they're pretty close to tying that up. As soon as that's done and fall comes in, we're gonna be doing some training for custodians, staff members, administrator, anybody that wants training on the AEDs. And also the Middletown Police Department, I believe the grant was approved for 2 walkie-talkies for each school. That's a direct connection to the dispatch center of the police station. So they'll just be able to click the walkie-talkie, have an instant connection to the police station. It does not replace the ones that we're looking for the school school people to use. That's was the CIP request that I still haven't heard. Obviously, when we get the budget back. If we don't get it to the CIP, we're going to try to get some grant money. Right now, it's the strongest safety concern that I do have coming into the new school year. So one way or the other, we'll find some money if they have to have a bake sale, whatever it takes. And that's all I have.
Who has access to the AEDs? Like, how are they accessed? Or are they somewhere key in exterior?
Yeah, they're in a locked case.
Mm-hmm. And is it like?
It's an alarmed case, not a locked case, it's alarmed. Actually, there's one we're gonna be putting out at the fields
Mm.
at Gaudet that will be a locked case because it's outside. But the other ones just have an alarm. If you open the door, the alarm goes off.
So we'll take pictures
Mm-hmm.
and have it for you the next meeting. And I will send a thank you note on behalf of us to the fire department for supplying this.
It's a significant cost.
It's a very
like we
big
spoke about
cost.
before, so.
Help this whole person along, ADA automatic detection. Or what is the ADA?
Automatic.
AED,
I'm looking
it
at my
said-
fire chief here. Go on.
It said defibrillators in case someone's having a heart attack.
Defibrillators. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thinking of automatic pilots and everything else.
Just the other thing, in terms of facilities, our building committee has been working extremely hard, meeting every other week. There will be a meeting next week with the building committee. We have Rhode Island Department of Ed, the building authority coming down, visiting our buildings, and there'll be with our architects, a conversation about how to best make our proposed new middle high school sustainable. And that will be here at 3:15 to 5, and it will be live. So people, if they can't make it here, will be able to view that, hear that and view it. But we'll send out more information to each of you on that schedule. And next is our technology. And he's been busy. The team's been busy.
Yes, we have. Good evening, Madam Vice Chair, members of the school committee. We have had a very busy month with the launch of our new help desk platform, Instant IQ, mandating two-step authentication in all of our staff employee Google accounts for safety, as well as preparing for a successful end of the school year and summertime project rush. This week, our team is hard at work collecting over 2,000 one-to-one devices from our students to prepare for the summer. We are out at the schools collecting, inventorying, and assessing all of these devices. Over the summer, we will be cleaning and updating each device to make sure they're properly maintained and ready to go to support our students for the upcoming academic year. The team has been busy at Middletown High School configuring a video wall in the school's lobby, which is the very first of its kind for the district. Made possible by grant funding opportunities, this exciting project is composed of 6 65-inch 4K TVs that will display meaningful and eye-catching content, such as athletic video highlights, photo slideshows, important school event reminders, school lunch menus, the local weather, school announcements, CTE program advertisements, and much more. Additionally, at Middletown High School, we installed a new state-of-the-art visitor management system. This digital visitor management solution provides multiple safeguards in place to make our school community feel safe. We have begun pilot testing this at MHS and will provide more information once the system is rolled out to the rest of the district's buildings later this summer. Thank you to our high school administration and our facilities department for their amazing collaboration and partnership to make these exciting projects a reality for our school community. As we close on this academic year, we would like to thank our facilities department, the business office, our building principals, our assistant superintendent, our superintendent, and the school committee for all of your help and guidance and support of our IT team. We look forward to the continued progress we make this summer, and we're very excited for the changes that will be happening at the upcoming school year. And just to close, I would like to personally thank all of the members of our IT team. They are very devoted individuals who work very hard with very limited resources and very limited staff day in and day out to make the operations of our school department for our teachers, students, and administrators a very seamless one. And so I'm very proud to be their director and very blessed. That is my status report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Just one last thing. We did receive a grant It's in your status report as well. It's called Jumpstart, Kindergarten Jumpstart. So this grant, we submitted like in 3 days, 4 days, it's turned around and we were successful. It provides an opportunity for our rising kindergarten students to experience some school environment. There'll be math curriculum. It's all in your status report. So we were excited to receive that grant. I think that is it.
And it's happening this summer, like
Yes.
implemented right away.
Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's all.
I think that concludes my report.
Okay. I need a motion regarding the superintendent reports.
Motion to receive the superintendent's report.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board of Officers.
Reports, Officers and committees? Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone.